Welcome to Beyond the Longbox.
Today we're taking a look at some graphic novels and ongoings from 2014. First up is Multiple Warheads by Brandon Graham from Image Comics. Multiple Warheads is meandering, doesn't have a sense of urgency or real destination, and most of its characters are pretty laid back, and that's why it's great. Multiple Warheads is a road trip comic about Nikolai and Sexica, two wanderers traveling across a strange world that is equal parts The Little Prince, Dr. Slump, Blade Runner, and Dr. Seuss. Graham's art style has a layered feel to it, and many times the page is jam-packed with an enormous amount of information that might be pointless to the overall story, but really does a great job of fleshing out the world and creating a sense of off-color whimsy.
Definitely have to say my favorite thing about Multiple Warheads is the very organic art style and kind of how the world really does come to life. Everything's very layered. The backgrounds have a lot of funny puns in the back. Some of them are just stupid, but it really adds to the style Brandon Graham establishes.
There are times where the story is very close and personal with the characters and their emotions, their feelings for each other. But there are other times where it feels like the characters are just there to get us from one strange locale to another. And that the places are really the sort of the stars of the story.
The characters also just have, who everybody is. Everybody has a new unique look, and things feel very animated when people are moving panel to panel.
And not to mention even if it's just a dumb joke, Graham will have these characters. He does he'll say he'll write one sentence and does something just get across this person's from a completely different culture as another character. This collected edition of Multiple Warheads, along with having the entire run, also has some good extras in it, along with the early adult comic books that the characters originated from.
Our next pick is probably the best superhero comic released all year. The Shadow Hero. Drawing from America's golden age of comics, the history of Chinese immigrants in America, and kung fu films, The Shadow Hero by Gene Luen Yang and Sonny Liu, published by First Second, reinvents the classic superhero story, but does so in a way where it looks up to superheroes rather than trying to tear them down. Based on the golden age comic The Green Turtle, The Shadow Hero focuses on the son of a Chinese grocer living in California that meets a spirit creature from ancient China that gives him powers. Yang combines his fascination with Chinese mythology and the culture clash of being an American-born Chinese,
which happens to be the title of one of his earlier works,
and takes the classic reluctant superhero narrative to create a great story about what it means to be a symbol for people.
I thought what was great about The Shadow Hero was that there was sort of a lighthearted, very humorous approach to it, but at the same time that did not come at the cost of having a very serious message or without addressing, racism in America, immigration in America, and Chinese history. It was a good balance.
I really liked that. It kind of had a kung fu movie vibe going in parts of it. And I also really enjoyed that the character's main motivation to become a superhero came from his mom.
I know.
usually in characters,
she steals the scene. She steals every scene.
I mean, usually with characters like this, it's they don't want their parents finding out. They don't want their family knowing. But in this case, the mom's like, son, you're going to be a superhero. So, folks, that's The Shadow Hero, put out by First Second. Check it out. So, Renzo, what's the next title in our lineup?
What did you eat yesterday?
Eggs, oatmeal, chicken. But seriously though, what's our title?
What did you eat yesterday?
I just told you, man.
What did you eat yesterday?
Come on, dude.
What did you eat? What Did You Eat Yesterday by Fumi Yoshinaga and published by Vertical Comics is a great twist on the classic odd couple romance story. What Did You Eat Yesterday is about a stingy lawyer that loves to cook living with his boyfriend, a lackadaisical hairdresser. Along with being a slice-of-life cooking manga, it's also a comic that subverts gender norms, addresses social issues and gay identity, but never feels maudlin or like the comic is trying to lecture you. The depictions of food pull you into the story and the characters and make them a bit more relatable. The art also has a soft feeling to it. The pages never feel crowded or overly busy. There's a relaxed feel to everything. Also, everyone is really handsome in this comic, even the old and ugly characters.
So I've actually not read What Did You Eat Yesterday, but it's made your top pick for one of your top picks for 2014, right? So can you kind of tell me what you find really enjoyable about that book?
I think there's funny characters. They're very natural, and there's sort of an easygoing feel to the art and to the story. And like with Shadow Hero, even though there's sort of a levity to a lot of the stories, they actually still manage to address, I think, important societal issues without it being necessarily a cost to the story or to the characters. You never had that sort of after-school special moment where the character looks straight at the reader and talks about such and such. The issues that come up feel like a very natural part of the world around the characters, and it's just sort of a refreshing look at an issue or about what it's like being gay and living in Japan that I think a lot of people might not be familiar with.
Our next comic, by way of IDW, is Judge Dredd, Mega City 2, City of Courts. Judge Dredd, Mega City 2, City of Courts by Douglas Wolk and Ulysses Farinas is IDW's take on the Judge Dredd universe and expands on it to show us Mega City 2, which is quite a lot like California. As part of a judge exchange program, Dredd has to learn to adapt to life in Mega City 2, using a less than lethal firearm branded with a cartoon bear, having a reality show constantly following him, and struggling with neighborhoods that all have different laws and standards in the vast, sprawling metropolis of Mega City 2. What sets this story apart from other Dredd tales is that it creates a comedic contrast between the grit and grime of Mega City 1 on the East Coast and the glam and sun of Mega City 2 on the West Coast. The art is bright, colorful, and detailed. There are fun references to spot in the backgrounds of some two-page spreads, and this is a great Dredd story to read whether you are a newcomer or a Dredd diehard.
So, Rishi, I'm familiar with the 2000 AD Dredd stories. What does IDW do differently to set their take apart?
Well, in terms of Mega City 2 City of Courts, it reads in such a way that it can fit either in the IDW continuity or even in regular 2000 AD Dredd continuity, as far as my read of it goes. And the interesting part about it is that the 2000 AD version of Dredd's always been kind of a very British take on post-apocalyptic America, under a fascist regime, right? And this is a distinctly American comic. I mean, you end up seeing a very East Coast cult, you see a cop from the East Coast, Dredd, going to the West Coast and experiencing a sort of culture shock. And in that sense, it's a very American comic. You get to see this guy who's used to things being, very rigid in one way, going to California, where things are very much kind of like, do your own thing, man. Like, they're literally different neighborhoods within this future, sci-fi version of LA that basically, every different neighborhood has its own laws, its own set of standards, and its own protocols. And you see Dredd just struggling to deal with all of them before just being like, screw it, I'm just going to do things my way, the Dredd way.
So what you're saying is it's Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh my God! You're right! This is basically Beverly Hills Cop with Dredd, except Dredd's nothing like Eddie Murphy. Guys, read this. This is Beverly Hills Cop with Dredd.
Next on our list from Jonathan Hickman and Nick Pitara is Manhattan Projects, published by Image Comics. Jonathan Hickman and Nick Pitara's Manhattan Projects got its start in 2012 and is still going strong today. An alternate history story where world events are controlled by amoral scientists and interdimensional beings, Manhattan Projects reimagines great scientists from history like Einstein, Feynman, and Oppenheimer as violent sociopaths fighting aliens and sometimes each other. The story constantly ups the ante to the point where the dropping of the A-bomb becomes only a small blip on the radar of gleefully strange and destructive combat. Pitara's art has a textured grit to it reminiscent of Jeff Darrow, along with a similar penchant for drawing chaotic battle scenes. So, Manhattan Project is currently on hiatus, but it'll be returning in 2015. So, now's a great time for people to sort of jump in and catch up on what's been happening.
Yeah, I've been reading this since it came out in 2012, and literally everything that happens is just an escalation of just wacky and weird stuff. Like the Soviet astronaut dog Laika is a character in this, and she's sent back into space and encounters aliens and all sorts of other crazy stuff. And
there's Oppenheimer's trans-universal auto-cannibalism, where he eats versions of himself from every universe to gain knowledge.
Right, and then there's like a war between the Oppenheimers happening in their mind.
It's almost like a twist on the power set from the comic Chew.
I guess so. That's kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this book is really... This series is very high concept, and that's one thing Jonathan Hickman's good at doing, just taking like the weirdest, most high concept stuff and making it work. And the art in it is just phenomenal. It's just very textured and looks really fun, and it's gruesome.
It's really gruesome. It gets bloody.
Yeah.
Like pretty much from issue 1. It really doesn't hold back at all.
Yeah. And, you have guys like JFK showing up, and it gets really wacky. So, yeah, that's Manhattan Projects.
It's good and good for you.
Our last pick for 2014 is actually a book that came out in 2013. I read it in 2014. It's amazing, and you should all read it as well. It's called Vatu, The Name and the Mark. Vatu, The Name and the Mark is a great fantasy comic by artist Evan Dom. The issues it addresses are grounded in the real world, while it's set in a fantastical one. The story follows a young nomad who is enslaved by an empire bent on expansion, and follows the clash of cultures of the many denizens that live within this vast empire. It is a story about culture and identity. Vatu is part of Dom's Overside universe, depicted in his 2 previous works, Rice Boy and The Order of Tales. It stands on its own and is a pleasure to read. The art style is singular, with beautifully depicted character interactions to quiet moments, politicking, and action scenes. Vatu is an ongoing webcomic and can be followed on the website riceboy.com.
So, Vatu, I notice, has a very different feel from Rice Boy. It's Vatu feels a lot more... I mean, Rice Boy was pretty serious in tone too, but it had the feel more like this strange sort of journey all these characters are on, whereas Vatu is a lot more themes about slavery and oppression, and feels like a lot darker in tone than Rice Boy.
Yeah, I mean, Rice Boy did go some very dark places, especially, in the middle and towards the end. Vatu is much more decompressed in its storytelling. It's definitely going to be a much longer work. The Name and the Mark is only the first volume in what's going to be a much, longer series of books.
As he said, like, roughly how many volumes it would take?
I'm not sure, but I do know that some people have been like, oh, why can't you release all of Vatu in one book? And Dom has just straight up said the book would just be too big to make.
It'd be like trying to put all of Akira in one volume.
Yeah, probably. I mean, my favorite thing about Vatu is just the story. The story is really, it's a really good story. There's all sorts of characters to meet, and you see all sorts of people interact together, and you're kind of drawn into the culture of this empire, right? And it contrasts very immediately to the main character's own tribe, which she's taken from.
Would you say this feels like any other webcomics out right now, or like you said, it has almost a European sensibility to it with its storytelling?
I mean, like sometimes the kind of like the way it's colored and the way the art comes out feels sort of like a Euro comic to me sometimes, but the style of Vatu and the way things are told feels very singular. It feels, this is Evan Dom's like ultimate expression of what he wants to do with comics. And I definitely feel every comic he's done, from Rice Boy to Order of Tales and now to this, he's evolved every step of the way. So I look forward to seeing what other comics he makes. He's definitely a huge talent, and I'm really surprised that no one like Image or IDW or somebody has like tried to pick him up yet.
Right, because he's self-publishing all of these.
This
right?
is all self-published, And you can all follow his comics right on riceboy.com. All of Vatu's on it, so you can read all of it without buying a book, but I strongly suggest getting the book because
it's a gorgeous hardcover.
Yeah, the hardcover is gorgeous. I don't have a soft cover, but I've seen the soft covers. The soft covers for all his books are very, very nicely made. He has complete input into how he wants them made, so they all feel like somebody's ultimate vision for their own work.
Those are some of the books that we read in 2014, and we hope to see you all again in 2015. Thanks for watching.
See you around.
Bye.
There were many great titles in 2014, and we couldn't get them all.
So please share your top picks with us in the comments below.
Worship me!